Okay, WrestleMania Night 1 is in the books, and well, there were some really good points in this show, and unfortunately there were some real down points. I mean, this thing, you know, with the 2-hour-long kickoff show was 7 hours long for Night 1, and oh, trust me, we'll get to the problems with the kickoff show when we get to that. Let's start off on the show proper. There were no kickoff show matches, which I'll elaborate on later. We're starting things off with the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. The Usos taking on the team of Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Early on, like, I'll try to keep this down as much as I can, but basically, you know, Nakamura got in a couple good licks very early on. He had a big single leg drop kick. Eventually, Rick Boogs got the hot tag, started doing things. My feed went out right at that point, so I unfortunately missed what was the dramatic high point of the match, which was Boogs attempted to lift up both Usos and something popped in his leg and he collapsed, and they're saying apparently that it is a ruptured quadriceps tendon. You know, if that's legit, I'm not, you know, I feel for him in that case that it happened in that manner, because it did look like something had happened, like he was picking up that he just buckled. I only saw that on replay because, like I said, my feed went out and I had to switch over to my phone briefly while I reset some of my connections. So I missed the big high point in the match. Nakamura put up a good fight, but eventually the Usos hit a super kick, Uso splash combo to win the match. And yeah, unfortunately, it's like it wasn't that good a match to begin with. Yeah, no, wait, they hit the 1D, not the super kick splash. My mistake. Anyway, yeah, like I said, this just was not a good match, unfortunately. And probably because of the supposed injury. At least I hope that is I'd say I hope that's a legit injury, but yeah, it's one of those. If not, then they just dropped the ball on what could have been a decent tag match and decided to write in a stupid injury angle. Alright, after that, our next match is Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. Early on, Corbin actually did get some good licks in. He hit a thrust to McIntyre's throat. They started to sort of got in a couple points where Corbin shoved McIntyre into the ring post. Just when it looked like Corbin was starting to gain a bit of an upper hand, suddenly Madcap Moss got on the ring, and yes, Madcap Moss won the Andrew the Giant Battle Royale. And no, I didn't. I unfortunately did not see that weird Chiron error they had during the kickoff show, because at some point I just kind of stopped paying attention and zoned out. But yeah, they got in there. Moss got up on the apron. Corbin kind of yelled him to go away, and that allowed McIntyre to get back to the upper hand and hit a chop, flying chop, and tried to go for a Claymore kick, but thankfully this time Moss interfered in the right way and pulled Corbin out of the ring. Corbin then countered another Claymore into a deep 6. But eventually McIntyre hit the future shock and the Claymore for the 3-count victory. Madcap Moss tried to intervene on his friend's behalf, but McIntyre grabbed the sword, swung it, and chopped the ring ropes in half. Which, again, sets up another thing that's going to run through this evening when that happens. Like I said, the match itself was actually pretty good, considering everything that happened. Just, again, because this match had really no hype whatsoever outside of bad jokes and McIntyre having a supposedly injured neck. Yeah, other than that, it's like, it just, like I said, it was a better match than I think it had any right to be. Probably the big spot that I didn't quite talk about there was that McIntyre kicked out of the End of Days. But that's about it. Alright, let's go on to the third match, which was the Mysterios versus The Miz and Logan Paul. The Mysterios came out as a kind of an Eddie Guerrero tribute, a Los Gringos. Dominic came out in the American flag gear, and Ray came out in a Mexican flag gear, even though Ray was actually born in San Diego. Paul really did work this match pretty well, surprisingly. He knew how to play a character. He worked with Miz. Early on, he distracted Ray, which allowed Miz to kind of get the upper hand and drive him into the corner. Eventually, Paul came in. He hit a big running power slam on Dominic. He followed that up with a blockbuster. Ray got the tag in. He had a moonsault on the Miz. At one point, definitely the high point of the match is Logan Paul doing the Three Amigos and the Frog Splash a la Eddie Guerrero on Ray. Eventually Dominic interfered, got the upper hand. They hit the Stereo 619 on Logan Paul, but Miz had actually blind tagged in, so when they pinned him, the ref couldn't count, and Miz used that to hit the skull crushing finale on Ray for the 3 count and the victory. Really, really well done match. Really fun. Good high spots. Paul knew how to play his character really well. Worked really well with Miz, which made what followed the match possibly even more shocking, that Miz took Paul and hit the skull crushing finale on him. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure the idea of turning Logan Paul babyface is such a good idea. Like, I know both Paul brothers have their fans. Jake was actually on the kickoff show, and I don't think Jake quite got into the idea that they're supposed to be telling a story and playing characters here, because he spent most of it jawing with the crowd, and yeah, it was just a disaster of an idea. But yeah, like I said, so I don't know if the idea of turning either of the Paul brothers into a babyface was really such a good idea. But other than that, like I said, it was a really well worked match and really well done. So hopefully maybe this can actually lead to some more. I'm surprised. I'm saying this. I'd like to see more of Logan Paul in WWE. All right, the next match is the Raw Women's Championship match: Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. Right off the bat, Bianca extended her hand in a handshake. Becky tried to go for the manhandle, but Bianca countered into a KOD attempt. Becky fought out of that and again tried to hit a leverage pin. Very early on, Becky was dominating the match. She went for a cross arm breaker. She pulled Bianca's hair to send her into the ring steps. Then she hit a butterfly suplex, again locked on another cross arm breaker. Eventually, Belair hit a big suplex and got on the outside of the ring. Belair hit a tilt-a-whirl to a gut buster. Probably the highest spot of the match, Bianca got Becky up for the KOD. Becky was just holding onto the ropes, so Bianca basically hit the KOD over the ropes, sending Becky to the outside of the ring. Lynch came back, hit a manhandle slam on the ring steps. But when they got back into the ring, Bianca managed to snooker Becky just enough to hit the KOD on her and get the 3 count for the victory. Bianca Belair, I guess, got her title back in a way. At least got her victory back against Becky Lynch. And definitely added to a lot of this. And great match. Again, probably match of the night overall, I'd say. Just again, really well done, really well told story. They finally worked things well, and I'm pleasantly surprised, because I thought after the haircutting incident on Monday they weren't going to give Bianca the belt, but thankfully cooler heads prevailed right there. And from there we have Seth Rollins versus his mystery opponent, which turned out to be Cody Rhodes. Again, anticlimax of anticlimaxes. I mean, the announcers were like, this is such a shocking event, even though everyone had been chanting Cody during the kickoff show. They had been chanting Cody during the entrances. They had been chanting Cody pretty much the whole time. So, yeah, it wasn't as convincing as you would think. This was another great match. Again, probably another candidate for star of the night, match of the night, but my only thing was it was a little slow at some points. Very early on, because there was some chain wrestling and there was a lot of hitting to them. hitting the ribs, and both men kind of selling very early ribs. Rhodes countered a crossbody with a drop kick. Rollins came back. He hit a barricade bomb. Rhodes hit a torpe, which sent Rollins over the announce table. Then I think Cody countered a stomp into the crossroads, only got a 2 count. Rollins hit a reverse superplex and then an inverted Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Rollins went for the pedigree. Rhodes countered that into the Cody cutter and only got a 2 count on that. Eventually, Rollins went for another stomp, but it was when he started to run out for when he started to head for the ropes to rebound off. Cody grabbed him, hit 2 crossroads, then followed that up with a bionic elbow smash, and then followed with a 3rd crossroads for the 3 count of the victory. Like I said, really good match, really entertaining. There were a few just kind of real dead spots where I don't think they quite planned things through very well, where they were kind of standing around trying to plan what the next move was supposed to be, and so it took a little bit slower than usual. But yeah, Cody crowd definitely popped for Cody. It does seem like maybe there could be some momentum behind him. Depending on how tomorrow's main event shakes out, I'm not entirely sure, but again, it does seem like he's going to be a big-time player in WWE for a while. And that leads us into our next match, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. I couldn't help but notice they had Charles Robinson, a.k.a. Little Nate, refereeing the match. And early on, Charlotte used him as kind of a distraction, landed a big forearm on Rousey. Rousey went through an ankle lock through the ropes. She had a flatliner off the 2nd rope. I think it was supposed to be more like a tornado DDT, and she couldn't hook it quite right, so they didn't quite get there. Flair came back, hit a spear. She put Rousey, in the tree of woe, and then used that to kind of lock on a Boston Crab. Rousey countered that into a judo throw off the top rope. Rousey put on an ankle lock, but Charlotte rolled out and put an ankle lock of her own. Then at one point, Charlotte was... Phone goes off again. Charlotte got Rousey up in the figure 8, but then I lost picture. I had audio, but I lost the picture, so I didn't quite see what happened to get out of it, unfortunately. It was very flashing, and next thing I know, they were out of it. And then the big climax of the match was Ronda hit the Piper's Pit and was going for the elbow, but in the process, the ref got contacted and he was out. So even though Charlotte apparently tapped the armbar, the ref didn't see it. Ronda got up to try to revive him, and Charlotte hit the big boot on Rousey, got the cover for the 3 count and the victory. Bit of a stunner given how much they were hyping Ronda Rousey coming back. But again, I think given everything that happened, because this was supposed to be the final match of the night, and I think they realized that maybe the momentum just wasn't there for a Charlotte-Ronda Rousey match. There were a bunch of people reacting to Ronda Rousey a little bit, but again, it has been my general consensus that the Ronda Rousey return has been very mixed at best. Not necessarily bad, but just kind of... Yeah, I don't think anyone... maybe they should have gone with Ronda and Becky, just as maybe a much stronger match, since, again, Becky technically pinned Ronda, so that would have made a bit more sense. But yeah, overall, the match, I don't think lived up to even the hype that it had, and yeah, it was probably the one real disappointing part in that. Now, you're probably wondering what exactly happened with the match between the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridgeholland. I have no idea, unfortunately. From what I've been able to piece together, it has either been canceled or they bumped it to tomorrow. And apparently it's because they kept running a lot of vignettes throughout the whole show, including vignettes promoting next night's show. And when I say the vignettes, I mean the whole 5-minute segments. And added to that, you had a whole 2-hour kickoff show with no matches on it. You could have easily slotted it in there. Instead, now you have all of Twitter doing posting the picture from the first episode of Total Divas where the Funkadactyls and the Bellas find out their match got cut. And they're just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, the only possible bright spot is because there's a second day, maybe they could move it to the kickoff show tomorrow, which they could really use because, again, you had a 2-hour-long kickoff show and no matches. And, you know, it was really hard to drum up interest because, God, that got so boring. Like, hopefully it'll be tomorrow. Like, hopefully they can put something out in tomorrow. But, because, you know, the New Day, I think I've earned the right to be on Mania. It's just, yeah, even if it's a kickoff show match, they really earned. They deserved a lot better than that. Though all 5 of those men really deserved better than this. And again, maybe, again, cut back on the insane amount of vignettes you had playing. Because you would have a vignette for, you know, Corbin McIntyre, but then they would precede that with a vignette for Edge and AJ Styles the next night. Just drop the Edge and AJ Styles one. You know, and to be honest, Corbin and McIntyre didn't really need a vignette either. You know, Miz and Logan Paul probably, you know, Bianca and Becky obviously, you know, but a lot of the other matches did not need the big long vignettes. And a couple of them you ran twice during the show, so it's like, not during the kickoff show, during the show proper. And yeah, it was so bad. Anyway, you know, okay, so let's go to the KO show featuring Steve Austin now. Basically, you know, Owens runs down the crowd, insults Texas, says, I'm going to call Steve Austin out when I feel like it. Austin comes out on his own anyway. And they sit down, and Kevin admits, like, look, I lied. I didn't want you to be on the show. I want to challenge you to a fight, a no-holds-barred fight here in Texas. And Austin's like, okay. And they send a ref down. They have a big fight. They fight into the crowd. Austin drinks some beers. They fight through the crowd more. Austin drinks more beers. They fight over the announce table. Austin drinks beers. Owens did get some licks in. They fought all the way up to the top of the ramp. Austin a couple suplexes, drank some beers. They get into the ring, and Owens manages to catch Austin with a stunner. And he covers. He only gets a 2 count on him. Austin then comes back and hits a stunner on Owens for the 3 count of the victory, and Austin celebrates at the end. Yeah, it was an entertaining little bit. Kevin Owens is such a great heel that it does work really well. And like I said, it was entertaining. It was a good send-off to the show. I think it did drag a little too long, in my opinion. Again, ended at 10:30. It started at, you know, 10 o'clock. I think it went all the way to 10:45, and then we got like a 15-minute celebration at the end. It's like, we didn't really need all that. You could have sent it off. It would have helped a lot. So, like I said, so far, like I said, night 1, real hit or miss. Again, you have a 2-hour-long kickoff show with no matches on it, which does not help. Again, I hope you at least put that New Day match on tomorrow, because, again, you need matches for tomorrow's kickoff show. There is nothing of note here. Exactly. Because, you know, if not, everyone's going to be tuning in at once around 6 or 7 tomorrow, which, yeah. And, you know, I'm not looking forward to the idea of matches lasting until 11 o'clock tomorrow either, so see you then.
My brothers taught me about wrestling, but I taught them about eating.
So he brought us to pizza, and it's all-you-can-eat buffet.
You get hot, fresh pizza.
Thin crust or pan.
Plus, there's plenty of spaghetti, garlic toast, and a salad bar.
All for a super low price. That's why I'm paying today. Kev, let me pay.
I'll pay for this one. You two pay for the pizza to go.
Pizza to go?
I thought you were full. These are for Dad.
Yeah, sure.
For pizza out, it's pizza in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, gourmet cooking.
Welcome.
Put the wrestling back on. Gourmet cooking. Let's watch both.
Noodles.
Miller presents Gourmet Wrestling. They are cooking now, Bob. Here's the plate, the dip, and the whip.
Brought to you by Miller Lite. If you can combine great taste and less filling, you can combine anything.
Stick the fork in him. He's done.
What a pen. What a beer.
Great taste, less filling.
Well, on the plus side, WrestleMania Night 2 did not end at 11 o'clock. It ended at 10:45. Anyway, I do have some good news. They did put on the New Day Sheamus Ridgeholland match. They did not put it on the kickoff show and said they saved it for the show proper, and again, there were no kickoff show matches. So, yeah, a good way to make your kickoff show completely pointless. Not as vignette heavy, though they did have a lot of throwbacks to the previous night and filler points in there as well, which we'll get to when that happens. Our first match was the triple threat match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. RK Bro versus the Street Profits versus the Alpha Academy. I believe this is the second year in a row Randy Orton has kicked off WrestleMania Night 2. Anyway, early on there was a big scene. It was basically supposed to be 3 men in the ring at the same time. There was a lot of 6-man brawls that just broke out everywhere. At one point, Dawkins hit Gable with a corkscrew elbow, and that got followed up by an exploder from Riddle onto, I believe, it was Dawkins. Yeah. Anyway, Orton came in, he had a suplex on Ford and Gable onto the announce table. RK Bro hit stereo hangman DDTs. The Alpha Academy paid tribute to the Steiners of the top rope Bulldog onto Ford. Again, another big schmoz broke out. Looked like Ford was going to go for the frog splash on Orton, but then Riddle popped up and hit the RKO on Ford. Gable went in. He tried to hit the top rope headbutt on Ford, but Orton got up and hit him with the RKO to cover for the 3 count of the victory. So RK Bro retain. Afterwards, Street Profits paid respect by offering some of the smoke to RK Bro, and then they offered Gable Steveson, who was in the crowd, a chance, and Chad Gable knocked the cup out of Stevenson's hand, and Stevenson hit Gable hit Gable with a belly-to-belly suplex, and everyone went home happy. After that, our next match, I guess I should talk about the match. The match itself was really good. Definitely a lot of high spots, good high action. Everyone got in their fair share. I do kind of wish there was a bit more tagging in the tag team match. I mean, if you're going to do a tornado match, just call it a tornado match. But other than that, it was fun. The dueling RKOs out of nowhere was really entertaining, and I guess RK Bro can hold the titles for a little bit longer at least. Okay? Alright. Our next match after that is Bobby Lashley versus Omos. Not much to say here. This was a very, very, very short match. It had Omos early on, shrugged off a lot of Lashley's attacks, got him up in a bear hug, drove him so hard into the turnbuckle that the back of Lashley's head actually clocked the ring post really hard that you could hear it. And eventually Lashley fought back. He managed to catch Omos in a snap suplex and then hit a huge spear to Omos's back, and then hit another spear to get the 3 count of the victory. Not really a surprise here. You're not going to bring Lashley back from an injury and put him up against that just to have him lose. So, again, not a terrible match. I mean, Omos, is good at the power moves, but he's still very limited in the ring. So, you need someone like Lashley to be able to do what he did, and Lashley actually did a really good job of doing it for the short time that they had. Okay, after that we had the Anything Goes match, or No Holds Barred, or whatever they were calling it, between Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. I did like that Knoxville was billed as being 2 cheeseburgers away from 175 pounds. Right off the bat, Zayn hit a haluva kick right after the bell. But then he began picking a fight with some of the Jackass crew who were in the audience. I haven't watched Jackass in a long time, so I couldn't remember all their names. Steve-O was not there. But then they started getting weapons. Knoxville got a fire extinguisher and sprayed Zayn. They started getting weapons out. Zayn got out a table that was covered in mouse traps. And it's at this point that we got some interference. Party Man hit the ring, started doing a striptease, which freaked Zayn out. Knoxville tried to get a roll up, but then Zayn apparently hit another haluva kick, at which point Wee Man came out of the ring. He clocked Zayn and even managed to body slam him at one point. Knoxville got back into the upper hand again. They began, Zayn climbed the ropes, but somehow Knoxville got one of the trigger releases for the pyro, and it went off, spooking Zayn. And then Knoxville threw a bowling ball into Zayn's crotch. And the high point of the match again happened when Zayn Knoxville threw Zayn off of the top rope and through the table covered with mousetraps, and then got out a giant mousetrap to use to pin Zayn for the 3 count and the victory. This was probably a way, way, way better match than it had any right to be, given that Knoxville has had some brain problems. I believe he had a brain hemorrhage a few years ago. So, you know, any type of blow to the head could be really dangerous, and he took several blows in this case. And they did everything I think having the other Jackass people interfere definitely helped alleviate a lot of the any possible further injury that could have happened. But like I said, it was really enjoyable and way more enjoyable than I think it had any right to be. And that leads us into our next match, which is the 4-way match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Queen Zelina and Carmella putting the championships on the line against Sasha Banks and Naomi, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Right off the bat, I guess probably the most noteworthy thing is Ripley and Liv Morgan came out as Batman and Catwoman, which, okay, and then everyone wanted to face Carmella, but she would immediately tag out whenever she was tagged back in. Baszler eventually got in a tag and attacked Morgan, and then a bunch of the others tried to come in and jump her and get the pin on Morgan, but Baszler scared them off, which was strange because even Ripley got scared off just on the weird. That was a weird point in there. Carmella blind tagged in during a brief time that Baszler had wandered into her corner, tried to get a cover. Again, then we got a big stereo pyramid of doom on both ends of the ring. And kind of in the big schmoz that broke out, eventually Naomi and Sasha hit a sort of a flapjack code breaker, onto Carmella for the 3 count and the victory. Not really a good match, unfortunately. This was a bit of a downer, and just. Again, I know WWE doesn't really care about the Women's Tag Team Championships, but at least I think this will help bring them up. But the match itself was just kind of a train wreck. There was way too much going on to try to keep track of everything. Okay, our next match is Edge versus AJ Styles. I guess the big noteworthy thing early on is something caught AJ Styles during his intro. I don't know, maybe he was a little too close to the pyro when it went off, but something happened and he had cut himself on his cheek. So he was bleeding quite a bit as he was making his way down to the ring. Early on, Styles did get a couple of good licks in, but then Edge blocked 450 splash, and then he began to dominate from there. He locked on an abdominal stretch. He dodged a charging Styles, throwing him face first into the second turnbuckle. Styles began to fight back again. He had a series of strikes. He tried to get him up for the Styles Clash. Edge countered that into an SDF. Edge came out of a calf crusher and locked on the crossface. Edge hit an implant DDT. Then Styles came back. He managed to hit a superplex that sent Edge onto the ring apron, which we all know is the hardest part of the ring. And that got him back into it. Styles came back. He managed to hit the Styles Clash, but only got a 2 count onto that. And then as he was going up to hit his phenomenal forearm, Damian Priest came out and distracted Styles long enough for Edge to counter the phenomenal forearm with a spear and get the 3 count of the victory to win. Yes, the match was a lot better than making it sound. Just again, I'm trying to keep things tighter here. So anyway, like I said, the match was really good, really enjoyable, told a good story, and it's now taking Edge into a new darker place. They have been talking about Edge running a new faction here, and it looks like Priest is the first member of that. I don't know who else would possibly join at this point, but it could be interesting to see where they go with it. And the only problem is, isn't Priest supposed to be feuding with Finn Balor for the United States Championship at this point? Just a thought. If I do have any draws, Why not do some of Apollo and Commander Aziz? Like, they're not really doing much, so why not throw them into this thing? But still, like I said, the match itself was over good, and I do like where they're going with Edge into this new, darker direction. After that, we do finally get the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridgeholland with Pete Dunne. I'm not calling it a Butch match. This was happening because Pat McAfee is in the next match, obviously. So Byron Saxton replaced. He joined Michael Cole on commentary, and McAfee was in the back. Holland. This was a really short match. Sheamus didn't even tag in, but they jumped the New Day right as the bell rang. New Day was in Big E inspired tights, and Kofi did hit Quick Trouble in Paradise, but then Sheamus broke that up. He had a bro kick to Kofi on the outside of the ring. He got in, and Dunn was distracting the ref, which enabled Sheamus to hit the bro kick on Xavier, and then Holland hit the, the Northern Brit, or is it Northern Grit, for the 3 count in the victory. So yeah, it was a quickie match. I do appreciate they did at least try to find space for it, but you could have just put it on the kickoff show, and you could have had a longer match and told a better story. This just felt slapdash at the end. This was, if you remember, I think it was WrestleMania 33, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, which was a 6-pack challenge. Was supposed to be on the kickoff show, and then everyone raised a stink, so they threw it on as the last match before the main event. And it kind of had that kind of feel where it's like, fine, here, there, you got 5 minutes, which doesn't make sense given what happened after that, which was the Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory match. Vince McMahon came down to personally witness. He announced announced Austin Theory. McAfee came out accompanied by the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Early on, McAfee got a good few shots in. Theory came back with a thrust to the throat. Eventually, the big thing what happened was Theory dodged a Swanton bomb, but McAfee recovered and hit a springboard superplex. Theory managed to counter another maneuver into an attempted first finisher, the A-Town down, and McAfee countered that into a roll-up for the quick pin. That's really all that happened in the match. Afterwards, though, McAfee got a little too full of himself and challenged Vince McMahon, who accepted the challenge, got in the ring, but then Theory jumped McAfee, and Vince made the ref ring the bell, and then punt kicked a football into McAfee's chest to get the 3 count of the victory. After that, Stone Cold Steve Austin's music hit, and I think you can do the math from there. The match itself, again, was fine. I think, McAfee's only had, one proper singles match and, the War Games match in NXT. So, I don't know how much you would want to do that there, but this screamed padded out. Like, again, if you're going to do that, maybe move that to earlier in the show, and then you can, I get the idea that you don't want people clearing out after Stone Cold left, but you had him on last night. I don't think people would have been too upset. You're like, hey, we got to see Austin again. Okay, we can sit through the rest of the show now. This just, screamed really padded out. Okay, our next match is the Universal/WWE title unification match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. I did have to laugh because in the crowd they had someone had a sign up that said Reigns fears no one right next to someone who has a Reigns fears Brock sign. Early on, Graves replaced Byron Saxton at this point on commentary. Paul Heyman introduced Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar introduced himself. This was a big old hoss match. They had a lot of impact maneuvers early on. Lesnar took Reigns to Suplex City. Heyman distracted Lesnar long enough for Reigns to spear him through the barricade. Reigns hit a second spear, but only got a 2 count. Reigns hit a couple Superman punches. Lesnar got him again, went back to Suplex City. At this point, though, Reigns fought out of an F5 and almost shoved Lesnar into the ref, but then speared Lesnar into the ref, knocking him out, then low-blowed Lesnar, but only got a 2 count again. Then Lesnar managed to snooker Reigns into the Kimura, but they didn't even notice it at first. It wasn't shown completely until a replay, but Heyman managed to just barely push the ropes enough to get Reigns to get the rope break. Lesnar got Reigns up to the F5. Reigns raked his eyes and hit a rebound spear off of the ropes to get the 3 count and the victory. And that was it. Reigns is now the unified champion. I have no idea what they're going to do. I've seen it before that it's not going to be The Rock, so stop with this Rock theory, guys. Please, please stop. Okay, they're going to talk it up again. He's going to point out that he'll lose his SAG insurance, so no, it's probably not going to happen. I don't know who right now could be viewed as a credible threat to Reigns. I would say maybe McIntyre, but he's been injured recently. Maybe Edge, but then you would have to turn Reigns babyface, which I don't think he wants to do right now. You know, I guess Rollins is still there. Cody could still be there, but don't know what you're going to do with Money in the Bank, which is it's not the next pay-per-view, but it's the pay-per-view after this one. And yeah, I know they're not called pay-per-views anymore, but whatever. But, you're starting to get the idea, aren't you? That's just, I don't know where you can really go with this. Like I said, you could have Reigns lose the championship and get it back. I don't think that would damage his character any. But I guess they're going to do another, really long title reign where he can hold it until a certain point, and then, I don't know if he can't technically break Bruno's record, but, he could at least pass Hulk Hogan, and that could, that could really be a big deal. But, yeah, that's about it. I guess overall on the show, let's go over both nights. Both nights had highs, both nights had lows. Like I said, what happened with the New Day match? And just bad management with everything. Again, 2-hour kickoff shows, but then not put matches on them. Doesn't make any point in watching the kickoff show at that point. Again, maybe I've been spoiled because of the independent, non-WWE shows I've been watching, but those kickoff shows feel so much better. They're so much tighter. They're not so plotting with every... Okay, I cut out a bit. I said a terrible thing. I don't want to say that again. Like I said, the kickoff shows are so plotting and tedious that it's really unnecessary, and if you're not going to put a match, there's no point to watch. There's really no point to watching them. So I don't know why you needed to pad this out with a bunch of football guys and then have 16 times where everyone's saying the exact same thing over and over and over again, and you're playing the exact same vignettes over and over and over again. It just, kind of killed what little momentum this WrestleMania had, unfortunately. Like I said, there were great matches on here, and I think overall I am going to give the show a B-. I don't want to go all the way down to C just because... the bad matches weren't that bad. Just, again, unnecessary padding, bad timing, vignettes all over the place that just killed, a lot of the momentum of this show, unfortunately. So, yeah, like I said, I don't want to go all the way down to C because I think that would be a little too harsh, but I can't go as high as a B, so that's why it's a B-. Okay, the next wrestling show is going to be Impact Rebellion. That's on the 23rd. After that, it's WrestleMania Backlash. That is on May 8th. Which I think... That's another Sunday. Wow. I thought that, we're getting Saturday shows most of the year. I know that we're getting a couple of another Sunday shows, so I guess that's not too terrible. Okay, next video is going to be the first 2 episodes of Moon Knight. Still have yet to watch episode 1 and get any of the stuff I need to make for title cards and stuff, so yeah, I gotta get to work on that, and I need to start scripting for the next random trade review on the Phantom Stranger, and that'll be the next to next video, and in between that there's going to be the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 review. I don't know what the next movie review will be after that. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.